Well, we begin with the very latest on a worldwide IT outage affecting many Windows systems. We know it's happening here in Canada, and some of our systems here at CBC News are affected. That is why our program looks a little different this morning, and you may experience problems at your workplace too. But we can tell you the outage has had a sweeping impact in other countries. Problems are being reported with banks, businesses, hospitals, institutions, and airlines. Airline operations are being especially hard hit. We are seeing delays for travelers at airports in Europe, the UK, and Australia. Overnight, some major U.S. airlines grounded their flights. Some of them are flying again. The outage has been going on for hours. We are hearing of fresh problems being reported as countries wake up to the outage. And right now, we're checking into the extent of the outage in Canada. We are reaching out to airports and major institutions here. Now, the outage is linked to Crowdstrike, cybersecurity software that runs on Windows. It's used by large companies and organizations to protect their systems, but it's not software you would likely have on your home PC or laptop. Linda Ward is following all the latest details along with us as they develop this morning. So, Linda, good morning.
Good morning.
First of all, how did this all develop?
Yeah, so this really started with some problems with Microsoft. They said they had some IT problems that are because of a technical issue with Crowdstrike. Now, Crowdstrike provides security for Microsoft computers. They did an update, and I guess we can say that it didn't go as planned. We're seeing some major issues. Now, there are reports, as you say, IT issues. This is the blue screen of death that many people will be waking up to this morning. Outages coming in all around the world. We've got airports, airline reservation systems, banks, media outlets, as we said, even us here at CBC, supermarkets, personal laptops. So a lot of people waking up, maybe having a bit of an issue, sort of booting up their computers this morning. Still waking up here, so we're still working on trying to figure out exactly what the impact is here. The full effect not yet known. We talk about airlines. We are reaching out to the various airlines. We've reached out to Toronto Pearson Airport, who said because this is a Microsoft issue, they are going airline to airline to see what's affected. But we do know that Porter Airlines, on their website, they are now reporting that they are canceling all flights until noon today because of technical issues. Now, when we look to see what the full effect could be, of course, we look to places that have been awake much longer than we have here. Places like Australia, Japan, India, who've been up for most of the day now. In Australia, airports, shops, communication systems, all affected there. Sydney Airport, they did have flights grounded. In New Zealand, Christchurch International Airport experiencing IT issues. New Zealand's parliament was having issues as well. Airports in Japan, in India, Delhi Airport. This was posted on a social media account. It's a handwritten boarding pass that reportedly had been handed out there. Now, in the U.S., we're looking at United, Delta, American Airlines had all issued a global ground stop on all of their flights. Now, it's worth reporting that, this is changing by the minute. So these things could be changing even as I speak right now. So just check with your airline if you're heading anywhere to see what is impacted. But flights that are currently airborne continuing, no further flights were taking off. We're seeing also in Alaska, 911 service being affected there, an outage of emergency airlines. So again, we are watching the impact here in Canada. As we wake up throughout the day, more will be known about just the extent of this outage.
Linda, this sounds all very chaotic. What do we know about what happened?
Yeah, so as I say, this all started with a bit of an update that went wrong. Now, this was first reported at 6 o'clock yesterday. So this started with issues with Azure, which is a cloud service that Microsoft runs in the central U.S. region. That's where they first reported it. But then again, we're hearing that an issue of, impacting various Microsoft 365 apps and services. We don't know if these two issues are interrelated. Are they two separate issues? We're still trying to get more information from Microsoft about that. But Microsoft says, as far as the current status goes, they say we are making progress. They have issued a bit of a statement saying we're continuing to see an improvement in service availability across multiple Microsoft 365 apps and services. We're closely monitoring our telemetry data to ensure this upward trend continues as our mitigation actions continue to progress, and people will be hoping that progress continues this morning. Maybe a good day to take an early weekend.
Sounds good to me. You will be on the story for us all morning, Linda, so we look forward to your next report. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. And we'd also like to hear from you as you wake up and try to log in. Are you experiencing any problems? Are you trying to catch a flight or get into your bank? Let us know how the outage is affecting you this morning. You can send your stories, pictures, and videos to morninglive@cbc.ca. And Scott is here with more on what's caused this global outage. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning, Juanita.
So what more do we know?
Lots of stuff. We have recent statements coming in both from Crowdstrike and Microsoft as far as what this is. And for anybody that doesn't know, and probably a lot of people don't know, Crowdstrike is a cybersecurity program system in the world, one of the biggest, and one of its customers happens to be Microsoft. And so we've just received this statement in from Crowdstrike. They seem to be the very source of what happened, and this happened initially late yesterday. Crowdstrike is actively working with customers impacted by the defect found in a single content update for Windows hosts, and Mac and Linux hosts are not impacted. This is not a security incident or cyber attack. This issue has been identified, isolated, and a fix has been deployed. We refer customers to their support portal for the latest updates, and we'll continue to provide complete and continuous updates on our website. We further recommend organizations ensure they're communicating along with Crowdstrike representatives through official channels, and our team is fully mobilized, they go on to say. Now, Crowdstrike is one of the biggest cybersecurity companies in the world. They also, as I mentioned, have Microsoft as a partner, as a customer, and we also have a recent statement by Microsoft as well as far as who is being impacted by the Windows 10 and 11 in particular around the world and the cloud service. Here's a statement from Microsoft this morning that's saying that we are aware of the issue affecting Windows devices due to an update from a third-party software platform, being Crowdstrike, of course. We anticipate a resolution is forthcoming. And what we're seeing, and what Linda touched on as well, is a cascade of problems around the world. If there's a cloud problem here, it's going to cascade in a lot of different things. But this problem was first found yesterday with Frontier Airlines. The cloud service by Microsoft shut down that airline there. The FAA was confused what was happening, and from there it sort of branched out, cascaded, if you will. And it shows you the dependence that we have on computer systems, whether it's cloud, whether it's Microsoft, and there's millions of companies around the world that use Microsoft. So Crowdstrike, for their part, saying that they're working on the problem. We don't know if that could be hours or we don't know if it'll be days, but we know and we've seen a disruption around the world.
And here at CBC also.
That as well was very independent. So airports, health systems, media outlets that are very IT dependent are particularly affected by this.
And what I said to Linda earlier was this sounds very chaotic.
It sure is.
Yeah.
Chaotic, cascade. There's a lot of different words being used.
That's right. And you will be on the story for us as well this morning. Scott, thank you for coming in. Well, Canada may just be waking up to this global outage, but people in the UK are well into their morning and are already experiencing what may be coming for this country in the hours ahead. Tom Perry is in London with more. So, Tom, some things are back and running, but how has the morning been like in London so far?
Well, I can tell you that here at the CBC Bureau in London, we came in this morning and found out that our computers weren't working, and a lot of people in the UK and across Europe are experiencing something very similar this morning. So I put together a list here of just some of what we're seeing across the UK, across Europe and beyond. So airlines, train lines, hospitals, even broadcasters affected by this outage here in the UK. Sky News, a big broadcaster here, they went off the air this morning. They're back on the air now. Airports reporting problems at Gatwick Airport in London. Barcode scanners weren't working. So airline security and staff had to check boarding passes by hand, the old-fashioned way. So that slowed things down. Edinburgh Airport was warning passengers to expect longer waits. Belfast, the same thing. Train lines in the UK. A lot of people rely on the train to get into London for work or to just get around the country. And rail lines here have been reporting major issues with their ticketing and scheduling systems. The National Health Service here in the UK, that's the public health system. Doctors reporting they've been unable to access patient records or write up online prescriptions. The National Pharmacy Association warning patients of delays getting their medication. And there was also a report this morning of an online booking system for doctors, booking doctors' appointments. That was down. So really hitting some key sectors here in the UK. And as we've been saying, it's hard to say how long this is going to last.
The list is going on and on as to who's seeing these kinds of disruptions. You know, we're also seeing disruptions spanning across much of Europe as well. So what's the update there?
Right. Well, you know, I went onto the web pages of the Barcelona and Berlin airports this morning, and the first thing you see when you log on there is a warning that this IT outage is going to mean longer waits for travelers. Berlin Airport was essentially shut down this morning. This comes right when kids are starting their summer holidays, so a lot of people traveling. They've got some service there now, but you know we've been seeing images from right across Europe of these long lineups as people wait to board flights. Airlines affected. KLM put up a statement today saying that it's been affected by the global computer outage, making flight handling impossible. We're working hard to resolve this issue. Turkish Airlines, Ryanair. So really, you know, a lot of the airlines operating here across Europe. And so we've heard not just reports here in Europe, I think we've mentioned already, places like India, New Zealand, Australia, Singapore. This really is a global issue.
Magnitude is incredible. Thank you for this, Tom. That's Tom Perry in London. We have more now on the worldwide IT outage that is affecting many Windows systems. It's happening here in Canada. Our program looks a little bit different because of it. Porter Airlines confirms its operations are being affected. Porter flights are grounded until noon Eastern Time. Pearson International Airport, the country's largest, is advising travelers to check with their airlines. And we are working to confirm what is happening with Air Canada and WestJet. We have some new video into us. This is from Sydney, Australia. You can see supermarket self-checkout machines offline because of the outage. Businesses, rail lines, hospitals, and large institutions worldwide are being hit. Right now, airline operations appear to be having the biggest impact. An online airline tracker says at least 1,000 flights have been canceled worldwide. Now, the outage is linked to Crowdstrike, cybersecurity software that runs on Windows. It's used by large companies and organizations to protect their systems, but it's not software you would likely have on your home PC or laptop. And for more on this, I'd like to bring in Soulette Dreyfus. She is a senior lecturer in computing and information systems at University of Melbourne, and we've reached her this morning in Melbourne. So thank you for making the time. First of all, this outage has impacted businesses and institutions around the world. Could you explain to us how this could happen, first of all?
Well, we don't know the exact details of what's happened, but so far what appears to be the case is that there are a number of companies and organizations that use Microsoft and use Crowdstrike. And Crowdstrike is a security software. It offers a couple of different services, some endpoint security, threat intelligence, cyber attacks. There are a lot of competitors in that particular market it's in. It's just one of them. But it apparently released an update to its software, and it would seem that this update had a faulty channel in it, so a subcomponent of the update was faulty, and that seemed to cause a problem on Windows devices such that it would effectively brick them. They weren't working anymore. You got the sad face and, you know, and the blue screen of death. And that's been happening across Australia this afternoon. In fact, many people, including in the national broadcaster here, two national broadcasters actually, newsrooms were just a sea of blue terminals, which were all down. It was amazing, actually, they could continue to broadcast. But it wasn't only that, it's affected banks, it's affected the major supermarket chains. Of course, we've seen airlines in the US as well. We've had flights stopped out of Sydney Airport, but it's also affected average people just trying to go fill up their petrol tank. So 7-Elevens here are shut down. It's not just a question of you can't get petrol. They literally have their shutters down. We've seen people not be able to buy things from vending machines because they've got some sort of electronic point of sale capability. So it's really affected so much of society. It's raised some interesting questions for us to think about, I think, in the coming weeks.
And including the computer security company Crowdstrike. Now, it's linked to this major IT outage. Tell us more about Crowdstrike.
Well, it's a company, a large U.S. Security company based out of Austin, Texas. It probably employs about 8,000 or so people, specialists. It's obviously significantly smaller than Microsoft, which is probably about 220,000 employees. And it provides these specialist services. So one element is designing software, and the software is supposed to pick up on unauthorized access into computer systems, but it also has other things like threat intelligence. So they'd be gathering intelligence about groups of attackers online and keeping that up to date. And so typically what might happen is a large company, this isn't really something that's meant to be used by, mom and pop shops, but a large company might subscribe to this service. So they might buy Microsoft for some things, and they might buy Crowdstrike or its competitors like Palo Alto or Cisco or Fortinet in an alternative for some specialist software features. And this sits in a sense, in a security sense, in a computer. It has the highest power. It's like the queen. It walks first. And that means that if something goes wrong with an update to it, it can really break the availability of the computer system because nothing else will work after it.
Well, Sulette, how large could the cost of this outage be?
I would be very surprised if it wasn't in hundreds of millions and possibly even more. I mean, the fact that you have people, for example, at the end of the winter holiday, school holidays here, stranded in airports around the country, unable to fly with their families back home in preparation for start of school. The fact that you have people who may not be able to go to work tomorrow morning because they don't have enough petrol in their car and they can't find a place to fill up, that they're not able to get cash out. These are all, interfering, and it's also little things in life. I mean, there've been questions about whether people could just go to the local football match here on Friday night because that may use some sort of electronic system at the gate. So there are lots of ways that it's interfering, and I'd be very surprised if those didn't add up to an awful lot of money. The other problem you've got, of course, is that the organizations that pay a lot of money for these sorts of security softwares are often places that have very valuable assets, for example, banks and financial institutions. And so clearly, when they're down, bad things happen to their business.
And of course, a big question right now a lot of people may have is like, how long is this going to last? We know Crowdstrike says that it is investigating the issue. So how long will it take before we see answers?
Well, I think it's going to take a little while. So there's an initial sort of cleanup phase that happens, and already there is a workaround that's been made available for people to fix up machines that might have had problems. However, it also depends on the nature of the machine. So if, for example, that machine had automatic encryption, full disk encryption on it, it might be that it's something you can fix by entering in the key for that encryption for that individual machine. But if you imagine a corporate environment where you're trying to do the workaround, the fix from Crowdstrike to 950 machines, it might be quite difficult to do that at scale if they're all encrypted individually, and you might have to put the password in for all of them. So that could take quite a long time and quite a lot of human power to complete that. And then again, there's the next phase, which is trying to figure out what happened, and where did the points of failure exist, and how is it that if it is in fact just one update that's gone wrong, how has it brought so many core services in so many countries around the world to their knees? That's a really important question to ask.
Very interesting conversation. Sulette, thank you for sharing your insights with us this morning. That's Sulette Dreyfus. She is a senior lecturer in computing and information systems at Melbourne University.